You guys want to get on a group call and talk about where do we go from here? You got some ideas? Let's go. Let's go. I'm ready. Jeremy's been ready. Jeremy was on the scene
It's
before
time
I
to
got
get
to
it
the
going.
scene. The Lewandowski family's beyond ready. Everybody's ready. Let's start assembling. Hey, what's going on, everybody? And it's your two favorite Patriots. I would like to think, at least, Jeremy Jackson's here with us. You all know who I am. And we figured, with all of the buzz on the internet today, that we would touch on a couple, it seems like, hot topics. And I mean, I say we just jump right into it, Jeremy. Let's just go right to it.
Let's get
First
it.
on the list for us, we'd like to talk about this comment that was made by Bill Sombo, who is I believe, former police officer for North Huntingdon Township. So definitely a guy that
Former
would probably
canine
know.
guy. Yeah, Sergeant.
Yeah, probably. I would assume this is a gentleman who has a little more information than we, the general public, has. So I'm just gonna do this, Jeremy. I think just read it, and we can stop and discuss anything, because I haven't even fully read the entirety of this. Have you?
I have. So yeah, let's read it.
Okay, so you read the whole thing. Okay, so it starts off, and this is from 5 hours ago. What's today? The 19th? Is today the 19th?
Yeah, right. 319. 319.
319. I apologize for this post being so long, but people need to know what's going on. To the residents and business owners of North Huntingdon Township, it has been brought to my attention through Ross Township police officers that 2 of the North Huntingdon Township police dogs, which are dual-purpose police dogs, have been removed from service from the department. This decision was made by Acting Chief Jay McCurdy, who has only been sitting as acting chief for less than 2 months. The taxpayers of North Huntingdon Township need to know that Jay McCurdy is in the drop retirement program and will be leaving the department in approximately 288 days. The decision by someone who has no management experience and or training should not have been made and are improper according to management experience, and or training should not have been made and are improper according to law. I will explain further in my post. The decision to remove the 2 dogs of the department is nothing more than a retaliatory action against Corporal Jeremy Nichols and Sergeant Justin Wardman for their allegedly giving controversial township resident Nick Carosa, that's me. Nick Carosa is a resident of North Huntingdon Township who has upset several leaders of the police department, commissioners, township manager, and solicitor. Chief Rizzo retired in January of 2026. At no time did Chief Rizzo take action to remove canines from the department while he was chief. And I think, since my name was brought up, and I have some good information on what actually happened to these guys, we'll pause right here and I'll insert some of that information to the conversation. So, as many already know, my involvement in the township became what it is because of the car accident that happened on July 7th of 24. The entire system shut down to deny my family justice. I began to apply my constitutional rights to the situation because, at the end of the day, that's the only tools I have as an American citizen to pursue my life, liberty, and freedom. And they quickly began to retaliate against me. The most egregious retaliation was 3 unlawful arrests. And the first one came on July 27th of 2025. During that arrest, they seized my phones, all my equipment, fingerprinted me, all of this, no warrant, no judicial authority, and did not file charges until they found out later that I still had copies of what had happened and I had begun to release them online. Their biggest concern, and why they were so willing to do this unlawful arrest, is out of desperation to find out who was giving me information, because they just couldn't figure out how I was finding out about all of the things that I was bringing to the public's attention. Like I stated last night at the meeting, though, all this stuff is online. And I'm going to show you something later on here that I just found online. The information is there if you're looking for it. There was no inside sources outside of these anonymous letters that I was getting that I have never hid from anybody that I was getting, but I don't know who was sending those or if multiple people had sent
They just
them.
can't face the fact
other
that
people know how
research
to
things,
research
find out
things and
information.
find out information. Yeah, so of course that created a panic because they think there's a leak now from within. So they begin this witch hunt, let's just call it that, to try to figure out who's giving Nick Carrozza the information. They figured that arresting me and taking my phone was a good way to probably try to figure out who was giving me the information. So at that July 27th case, at the hearing they had, which was in front of the magistrate, but they did it up at the Common Pleas Courthouse, which is very strange in and of itself. There were several officers present at that hearing. There was Aaron Nutter. There was Joseph Riley. There was Matthew Bennett was there. These are all officers that are involved in the case. You know, Riley arrested me on the 27th. Nutter is the safety official that I allegedly put in danger. But there was one there, though, that has nothing to do with anything, and that is Detective Mark Hamilton. So, you know, I took the stand that day because I have nothing to hide, and I'm not here to lie, right? Now, I was told I didn't have to. I knew that I had a right not to take the stand and testify in my own trial. But again, I just want the public record to be accurate. So the Attorney General, Aaron McKendry, starts to go on this line of questioning where he said, how did you come to find out that Aaron Nutter allegedly was at your family's accident scene? And I told him that it came by way of anonymous letter. And then he went on to say, was there any other ways that I was coming into information? No. Did I have any other contact outside of letters with people? And that's when I said, yeah, I did. And they asked who, and I named the two officers that I have had contact with from the North Huntingdon Police Department. At that point, the officer sitting in the crowd, ghost white, jaws open, except for Hamilton. Hamilton went directly to his phone. And it became evident to me that that is why they arrested me. This is why this is happening. This is why they moved it up here so that no locals could potentially attend my magistrate hearing. Because coming to the North Huntingdon magistrate and coming to the Greensburg courthouse is a whole different ballgame. You got parking garages, you got to pay. So they wanted to take this away from the local citizens. I mean, even at the magistrate hearing, they did not want locals to be able to come here and see what was happening. So then it comes to my attention that they're let go from or put on leave. I think paid suspension. I believe it was the day after the hearing. I'm just curious, like, why the questioning during the hearing didn't go into, well, what did they tell you or what did they say to you? Because I would have answered honestly had the question been asked, and the honest answer would have been, well, it was at chance encounters. And the conversations didn't go past, first question that was asked by both of them was, how is your son and Katie? I mean, just pure empathy, sympathy. How are the people who were harmed? And I say,
Not a
good.
reason for you guys to be put off of work and then eventually
Off
lose
the
it.
clock. Neither of them were on duty. They were in their personal capacities, which is what they're trying to tell me about Aaron Nutter. Like, remember, Aaron Nutter responded to me too. Aaron Nutter talked to me too by way of a social media post where he actually spoke on the details of the case.
Why ain't he suspended
Oh, he not only did he not get suspended, he got promoted to detective. I mean, they have this reward, they have this punishment and reward system built where if you're willing to fall in line with the corruption, you will be rewarded with promotions, which I'm sure come with bigger pensions and more benefits. But if you walk with any sort of integrity, if you're willing to be a compassionate human being and serve with these qualities, then we're going to punish you. We're going to punish you.
And
we're going to
I wanted to touch about those two guys that are Jeremy Nichols, Justin Wardman. I've known them for years, and I actually served with Justin Wardman for a little bit, and both of those guys are very nice, and I have the utmost respect for them. And it's very hard to believe guys are put off. And then they lost their dogs. Something as minute as this. I could see if there was an order put out not to talk because you're a known felon and they have an active investigation on you. And they called you and said, "Hey, they're gonna come. You know, look at you. They're gonna come to your house. Get out of there." That's a different story. Those guys never do that to begin with. And for them just to show compassion to you, question how's your family, and that gets back. Who did you talk to? Jeremy Nichols, Wardman. The next question has been, what did you talk about? They asked that.
Because they only wanted to get their names.
I don't get that.
Because their intent was not to do the right thing. If the intent was to actually do the right thing and they had these legitimate concerns that someone from within the police department was giving me sensitive information that was causing some sort of a security risk or something, then they absolutely would have asked, what did you guys talk about? They 100% would have asked that. They only needed their names to be said so they could go back in the shadows of the department and just rail these guys relentlessly, abuse them until they're broken, silent, and quit. And honestly, that's where the public needs to understand. I know that there is this animosity between law enforcement and the citizen, and it's been growing for decades, years. This is not new. But what we have to understand and take responsibility for as the people is that when good officers find themselves being retaliated against and mistreated for doing the job, we have to surround them in the same way that we expect and we would like them to surround us when we are in our time of need. It is a two-way street. I don't expect officers to put themselves in these positions if we are not going to show up, because this is going to happen to every single 100% of officers that step forward to do the right thing are going to be retaliated against. And I don't like doing 100%, but it's just what I've seen in not just departments here, not with just officers here, but everywhere. Officers that stand up and say, no, that's not right, or no, we can't do it that way, or no, that's a violation to their rights. See ya. But it's not that they.
We all have to get behind them when something like this happens. These guys did not do any violating laws or whatever. We the people, their neighbors, they protect. We have to protect them at some point. And this is the kind of where it happens. We have to be there for them.
Yes, and when we show the officers in law enforcement that we're paying attention, not only are we paying attention, but we are absolutely willing to show up when we see that you're being mistreated by, your superiors, then I think that we really open the door for law enforcement and the people to get back to a working relationship together, where it's like, okay, we get what you guys are dealing with. You know what we're dealing with. Let's work together and make this a better situation for both parties. And once we can do that with law enforcement, then we get a much safer, much more effective community, where then maybe all this other stuff isn't happening, right? Because there's a lot of stuff happening, but we have to start here with extending our support to members of law enforcement that are being mistreated for doing the right thing. Ted Kuckich is another example coming out of this police department. And my last conversation with Ted happened on September 5th. And I asked him if he was working because I don't want to interrupt them while they're out there working. And he chuckled. He said, I don't work there anymore. And I just broke down, Ted, why are they doing this to me? Why are they doing this to my family? And he said, I can't talk to you about it. I'm sorry. Essentially, keep your head up. And I'm not mad about it because I do understand what's happening to these guys. You know, I do have the compassion and I have the wherewithal to know that they're being threatened to lose their pensions, their livelihood, their insurance for their family members. I mean, I understand what's being held over their head. And that's the stuff that we want to stop. And clearly Bill is
just
on.
how dangerous is that going to North Huntingdon be taking those two canines? Those are two very good canine guys.
I can tell you, and I'm comfortable speaking about this because I've already accounted for these sins and these crimes. As somebody with 3 manufacture and distribution charges on his record, I know how pivotal this stretch of Route 30 between the Turnpike and Pittsburgh and everything else. I know how important that is to the illegal trades, and the narcotics officers and the canine units are the front line of the people's defense. So when you take 2 canines off the street and 2 canine officers off the street, I mean, and again,
free game.
Well, let's just call it what it is. 14th safest in the nation and safest township in Pennsylvania, that's bought and paid for propaganda. Because since that article has come out, the rating from Money Geek, we have documented stolen vehicles. We have documented drive-by shootings that those vehicles were tied to. We have the documentation that suggests that is not an accurate depiction of what North Huntingdon Township is, on top of the fact that we have the documentation showing that the department was fudging the numbers in the Cody report. So if they're manipulating the statistics and then getting these ratings, it just starts to look like they care more about the business aspect of the township, the incorporation, than they do the citizens who have put them in the positions to manage things.
Right.
And that's where we are in a dangerous situation. Yes, taking those officers off there. And listen, they claim that there's some kind of memorandum, an order put out. Nobody is to speak with Mr. Carrozza. Yet when I questioned and I asked for that documentation through right to know request, nothing was provided to me. But I mean, I'm willing to even go out on a limb and just say, okay, guys, let's be reasonable here. There was one, fine. And if there was an order put out not to speak to me, as we would then have to question as the public, like, why are no officers allowed to talk to this guy? But at the end of the day, they would have to listen to that, right? And even giving me sympathies and things like that could be argued that they disregarded that. And maybe there has to be some sort of accountability for that. But is this just accountability? Is putting them on the bench, taking their dogs, essentially pushing them out of the department, is that fair and just punishment? I don't think so.
No, an actual punishment like that would be you get 2 days off, no paid leave, and then you come back to work.
Don't do it again. Don't do it again.
Coming in to wash cars.
That's it. Don't do it again.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, listen, you want to talk about security risks at the department? The leadership is the security risk. I mean, I was after the one meeting, and I also have the documentation because you know me and my camera. We go everywhere together. And I'm walking around the building, and I notice there's this office on the ground level. Like you look right in it. The blinds wide open. The lights off. But the computer screen on. And why all those details are important is even with the lights on, you could see the screen, but with the lights off, all you can see is that. And it had all the surveillance cameras on it. every angle of every camera for anybody, including myself, to sit there and look at from the ground level.
Do you think
So, I
we
mean,
should bring up what we found on Facebook? Because we already got it.
Go for it.
Okay. I'm gonna say this, and then maybe we can post some pictures of it in the comment section or something. So Nick sent me a message one day. He just happened to look at Facebook, and then boom, there it is. A picture of behind the secure area where the dispatcher sits with the camera screens, the computer screens with all the sensitive information right there, posted on a Facebook, North Huntingdon Police. The very same thing that Mr. Carosa got himself in trouble for recording in a public lobby. But they're allowed to post public photos of the area of the system, surveillance system. You can see where every camera. So I didn't know if we should bring it up, but I really should, because I can't take it down.
We already have it all documented.
But I mean, this is the kind of place we're dealing with. Petty.
Well, and that's the thing. And here's the importance, right? Police officers are not above the law. Okay. So if the laws that they want to apply to us, the citizens, are no photographs or audio or video beyond this point, once they start doing it, they can't turn around and apply that stuff to us. It doesn't work that way. So if they want to arrest me and charge me for the July 27th, then, whoever was taking those photos in the secured area and posting them, I want them arrested too for the same charges. Just like when you talk about what's happening to Officer Nichols and Sergeant Wardman and Corporal Nichols, if you're going to punish them in this manner, I want you to punish Aaron Nutter too, because he reached out. He didn't reach out with sympathies. He reached out telling me details of the crime scene. Like, he explained, oh, I arrived there and then I took your son and I put him here. He was talking about an active case publicly on Facebook in front of everybody. These guys had private encounters with me where they extended sympathies and get well wishes. Nutter gets promoted to detective. These guys get put on the bench, get their dogs taken from them, and it looks like they're more than likely just going to be terminated.
It almost seems
they've
gotten
out of
there for some reason.
Well, because they do their jobs with integrity. Are they perfect? I highly doubt it. Haven't met a perfect individual yet in my life, right? That's why I study the only thing I have found that's perfect. Not saying that they're perfect, but I'll tell you what, they're going to get hosed if the community does not show up in numbers and say, you're not doing this to them. I think the best way to resolve this for the public would be to demand a public hearing where everything gets put on the table for everybody to see. I think that's the best. I think that's the best way to sort any of this stuff out, is to do it openly in the public.
I mean, Nick, what is it with you, man? I mean, these two guys are suspended. I got a lawsuit because of, but it's actually because of North Huntingdon Police Department and their hierarchy, and what they don't have training in and all that.
They got
digging themselves into a hole, man.
They've been trying to get away from me for a long time. I mean, don't forget, the chief sending me emails through Harry Falk telling me, the father of a minor victim, that I had no right to information, that they would only speak to his mother, who was suffering a traumatic brain injury, which was causing her speech to be slurred, her memory to be bad, because as soon as they identify you as somebody who knows your rights and is not afraid to navigate the areas you don't know, and then they figure out, then they figure out, wow, not only is he not afraid to go where he's unsure, but he's also a quick learner and a quick study. I mean, you become the biggest threat to this system that they have built. And you know what? It's an honor and a privilege to be a threat to a system that has its boot on the neck of the American people. I'm appalled at what I've found. And this right here, what we're seeing with these two officers is the proof that they know no boundaries. This whole thin blue line loyalty thing, that's not true.
Yeah.
Just like the whole street code is non-existent. When I went and did my time, I was expecting to be in there with a bunch of like honorable thieves, right? If that's even a thing. Buddy, everybody was telling on everybody. I mean, it becomes an every man for himself scenario. When you're about to get in trouble, people start getting into like, oh, I'm saving my behind. Because I know that there's other officers in that department that know dang well what's happening to these guys is wrong, but nobody from that department has stepped forward and
They're
said
too afraid of retaliation.
And I understand that, and I hope that they see now that if you step forward to do the right thing and they come against you, come talk to me and Jeremy. We'll platform what's going on with you. We will push it to as many people as we can possibly push it to. Exposure is our most valuable tool right now. Let the people know what's going on in their house. What are you guys really funding with your tax dollars? Is this what you want your tax dollars to be used for? Abusing officers who offer sympathies and get well wishes to be get out of here. I'm not playing that with them.
Yeah.
So then, it looks like we're talking about, of course, the Carrie Bauer situation. A further decision made that makes no sense at all. Officer Bauer sadly lost her canine due to some type of medical problem. Officer Bauer is also in the drop pension program, and she is set to retire in April of 2027. That is in 13 months. If you do the math, that is 404 days. Officer Bauer had to buy her own dog and pay for the so-called intense training in order for her to have a dog until the day she retired. No sense whatsoever. And it makes no sense. And I'm really not too impressed with Carrie Bauer paying for these things, because the record shows that Carrie Bauer, through overtime, is one of the highest paid officers in the department and has been for a long time. So thanks for using some of the money to buy yourself a dog and train your dog.
But in the light of this thing, we have to be glad that we at least have one canine officer, given the fact that this has happened to these other two good canine guys.
Yes.
We have one.
One is better than none, especially when you live on the pipeline. Like, you can't get away from it because the Turnpike Exchange is always going to be where the Turnpike Exchange is. It needs to be identified for what it is, which it is identified. The White House deemed Westmoreland County a high-intensity drug trafficking area in 2020. The White House did this, not Nick Carosa. I didn't deem it that. The White House did. Why did the White House do that? It's because of the corridor that we're on. I mean, we're next to a couple, 22
statistics,
376. We got a lot of riverways. We got a lot of railways. We got some little secret landing strips buried in the woods. So, I mean, it's like they designated it that because the infrastructure provides the logistics to use our area for that, and hiding that fact from the public and trying to make them believe that they live in this safe 13th safest, it's irresponsible. And it's not going to get us anywhere. Things are just going to progressively get worse and worse and worse until we have nothing left. And that's what I believe our main mission is, to get in between, what's happening today and the future, to try to redirect it into a better course of, where it's headed. So, yeah, I definitely wanted to start with the canines. And I'm hoping that we hear more from Bill, because it seems like he has a lot of good information that the public really needs to hear.
Everybody knows Bill.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, for a guy that doesn't seem to use Facebook all that much, because I did go through his page, he certainly is getting a lot of interactions from people. I think that's
he's not somebody that jumps on the bandwagon. But if it's serious enough, I can see why he's done it. He usually stays out of things. When it comes to this kind of stuff. But he's right to start. Making stink post, bringing a light to it. We all have
Community.
to.
It's time for the community to peacefully, right? Exercise your freedom to speech. We need to exercise our right to assemble, and we need to bring our grievances about what's going on with these officers right to the people's house, right to their front door. We want answers. We're not here for any sort of chaos. We're not here for any sort of argument. We just want to know the facts of what's going on. And if we deem that we don't like it, we expect you to do what we want you to do because we are the people that you serve. But you know what? I'm sure just like everything else I've brought to the attention or you've brought to the attention of the public, there will be those individuals that will not be able to help themselves but to take a position against anything that we support. So I'm interested to see who steps forward and defends what's happening to these officers, just like they defend what the priests did, just like they defend children being taken away from their parents. Like, I cannot wait to see who tries to defend what's happening to these officers.
And you might not see them two out here defending themselves. People might be asking, where are they at? Well, when they're in the situation right now, they're employed with the township, and they have representation. Can't really be out there doing things that we're doing. So I'm glad there's people like you, Bill, and a ton of other people that can step up and stand up for them. And we all have to come together as a community.
I mean, quite frankly, I don't think they should have to. I think that this is the duty of the people. I mean, I don't know that they should even have to be. I mean, like, man, it would have been so nice if I could have just like come to the commissioners in the beginning of my situation and said, hey, man, this is what happened to me and my family. And then they would have defended me and I could have focused on my family. But like nobody came to defend me. And so I had to do it myself. And that's what I'm doing. But in the process, I'm going to make sure that anybody else who needs defense, I don't care who you are, as long as your issue aligns with our constitutional rights and you can show clearly that you're having your rights abused and you're being mistreated, I want to build a platform where everybody can support each other. Cops and citizens, Democrats and Republicans, different races of people. I mean, we need the unity like never before in this country. If we're going to fix something, we got the Jeffrey Epstein garbage. We got wars happening. We need unity. We need unity.
Big time.
So, I think that now it's probably fair to jump into some other topics that have kind of taken a little bit of an overlap in some other stuff that me and Jeremy have been working on. I mean, we have been busy. I mean, busy. And that's what I think is becoming a little concerning to me and Jeremy is we're looking at all of these separate things that are just like horrible. And we're finding out that there may be some strings that are tying everything together. And the reason that that's a little scary is because then it stops being like we have some crappy people like here and there that just don't know what they're supposed to be doing. And it starts to give off, the idea at least, or the question, because we're not making any claims. We're just following the information. It's like, well, if all this stuff is connected to each other, then this is starting to look more like some sort of an organization, some sort of like group. Like, what's happening here? So let's just jump into the video.
There's too many names overlapping, same organizations and entities, et cetera.
And surrounding like bad stuff that's documented to have happened, right? I mean, okay, so let's jump into this because this was another, I think, post that kind of popped off a little.
local priests are named in the grand jury abuse reports.
Target 11 has worked through that report, tracking down stories involving parishes across our community. A police report in one of those cases led Target 11's Rick Earl to trace an evidence trail 30 years old, and he joins us live now. Rick?
Yeah, Lisa and David, it was this one-page letter from a police chief contained in that grand jury report that really caught our attention. So we began our own investigation, and it led us to a missing police file, a plane crash, and a police investigation that went nowhere. Father Robert Mosslener placed on leave from the Greensburg Diocese in 2002 after multiple allegations of sexual abuse of minors documented in the grand jury report. Bishops William Kinnair and Anthony Bosco, the report said, allowed Mosslener to prey on innocent children for 22 years after the first complaint.
The scandal in this grand jury report is not that you have over 1,000 victims. It's that the bishops aided and abetted these known predators. It's the bishops that decided to protect the church's reputations and assets over their own most vulnerable children.
In 1980, after the first allegation of inappropriate behavior with a 15-year-old boy, Mosslener was sent for evaluation. An internal diocesan document called it, quote, an unacceptable yet understandable way station on his path to more adult sexual integration.
What's now the most outrageous part is clearly people in authority knew for not just a couple days, but for decades.
In 2004, Mosslener was dismissed from the priesthood. But during his career, he was moved from parish to parish, 10 in all. In 1986, 6 years after the first allegation, North Huntingdon police launched an investigation into Mosslener and acts involving male juveniles. At the time, Chief William Berkovich sent this letter to the diocesan attorney, quote, we do have records on file to substantiate the charges. But no charges were ever filed. We wanted to know why. As we would soon find out, it wasn't easy getting answers after more than 30 years. The police department, at our request, conducted a search of their files, but found nothing. The district attorney at the time, John Driscoll, who's now a judge, told me it never came to his office. And the diocesan attorney, Vince Morocco, confirmed to Target 11 he did receive the letter, but that's the last he heard of it. Finally, we tracked down the former chief at his home in North Huntingdon. He had been involved in 2 small plane crashes, and his wife said a traumatic brain injury left him with little recollection of what happened decades ago. I'm looking for Robert. We also attempted to find Mosslener, who's in his early 70s now and living in Pittsburgh. A man who came to the door said Mosslener wasn't there. In all, the grand jury identified 6 victims, including one who wrote this impassioned email to the diocese. Mosslener is now enjoying his golden years unscathed. His name doesn't appear on any sex offender registry. His victims continue to struggle to this day.
Rick, this is just fascinating. We saw you at the front door there. Did you ever get a chance to speak with Mosslener?
Yeah, we reached out to him several times. We never heard back. We finally did hear from his attorney, who told us he had nothing to say about this case. Again, he was removed from the ministry, but never charged criminally.
Okay, so I don't know if fascinating is the word that I would use, but I can understand how when you're hearing stuff like that, you come to a loss for words. I mean, I don't even know where to be. Okay, let's just start here. What do we know for certain? We know that the priest was doing this stuff. That's been confirmed. We know that the memo was sent. We have the memo. We know that there was evidence for charges. But that's basic, and we know that the police reached out to the attorney for the diocese. But that
sounds odd to me. When did the police reach out directly to somebody's attorney?
Jeremy Nichols.
And I want people to remember there's 2 names that were in there. There's 2 names, Driscoll and Morocco. I think people should remember these 2 names.
I want to say for the record that when Jeremy Nichols arrested me for my charges, he did not call my defense attorney for me. I just want everybody to know that when I got arrested and punished, held accountable, I'm a product of accountability. What you see today is a product of what accountability can do. They did not call my defense attorney to give my defense attorney a heads up on what I had done. They didn't do that. That in of itself should make the public extremely uneasy. That if evidence was there to substantiate charges, why were charges not filed with the DA? But let's be honest here, and let's be real. do we know for certain that charges were not filed with the DA's office?
I can look into some things here for you while we're sitting here
Well,
talking.
it's just,
I'm
I mean,
looking
we
it
have
up.
this gentleman Driscoll who was the DA when John Peck took over, and then he transitioned to a judge, but he was the DA at the time of this. The only thing we have to support the idea right now that charges were never filed is his word. And I'm gonna be frank, because of all the lies that have been told and all of the things that have been hidden, I'm having a hard time taking anybody at their word right now. So if Mr. Driscoll has any way to actually substantiate that claim, I think the public would appreciate seeing the documentation or seeing the evidence. If North Huntingdon has evidence that charges were filed, we'd appreciate seeing that. But until we get to the bottom of that, and maybe that's something we never get the answers to, I think we should be mindful of who was involved in this situation. And I hate to say it, but if we can't get a straight answer and we will never know the truth, maybe they shouldn't be involved in some of the things they're involved in today, right? Is Mr. Driscoll involved in anything today, Jeremy?
Actually, Mr. Driscoll is very busy today.
Busy
With a lot of
man.
things.
Is he
Yeah.
busy?
I mean,
Okay, let's hear it. What's Mr. Driscoll been up to?
so he used to be the Westmoreland County Court of Common Pleas judge, family court judge, juvenile court. He was also a senior judge. His tenure, he was appointed in 1994, I believe, and he retired as a senior judge in 2015 in December. Um, the key roles he held on the bench was like I said, family court, juvenile court. Um, he's involved in the pre-judicial. In his pre-judicial career, he is a private practicing attorney. He was a Westmoreland County District Attorney as well, licensed in PA Supreme Court, U.S. District Court, Western District, and the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. He also served in the U.S. Navy, so he's a veteran. Looks like he has a Naval Achievement Medal and the Vietnam Campaign Medal and a President Union Unit citation. So may have been a short time. I really didn't pull his records for that yet, but he did serve. And in the boards and memberships that he's involved in, organizations has been that have been confirmed by research is Adelphi, which is, we're going to be talking a lot about Adelphi, and we're going to get back to that. That's the most important connection we have right now, where this is going to go in shortly. But he was juvenile placement and treatment center provider. He was also the former juvenile court judge for those things. So that creates a direct pipeline overlap with the court placement decisions, private provider boards, and stuff like that. He was a University of Pitt in Greensburg advisory board member. He served as the Excella Health System, Westmoreland Hospital. He's a trustee, Westmoreland Chamber of Commerce. He served as a member, a director, and a solicitor, which is legal counsel for those who don't know what a solicitor is. The Rotary Club of Greensburg. He is actually a past president of the Rotary Club in Greensburg, and mental health and juvenile advocacy for sure. Mental Health Association Award in 2005. So he's doing a lot of work, man. I mean, he's everywhere, and he still has continued court roles after his retirement. And I can go on and on and on and on.
Well, I think so. Based on the resume, right? Why isn't he at the forefront of a public push to see justice for these kids that were negatively affected by this priest? I mean, if he cares so much about the kids, right? He seems to be involved in a lot of stuff with kids still to this day. And he was questioned, hey, North Huntingdon police had these charges. Did your office ever get them? You would think that a guy that has dedicated his entire life to protecting children, because that's what the resume would lead you to believe, you would think he would be the loudest voice right now about, we need to know how charges never made it to the DA's office, and we need to hold all of those responsible who prevented these charges from getting to my office. I mean, even if he's not in a position right now to prosecute or file charges, He's a name that has been brought up in that topic. He still holds positions today where he's a protector of children by resume. Why are we not hearing Mr. Driscoll beating the war drum over, hey, we need justice for what happened in 1986? Because if you guys had charges, you didn't send charges over, and because of this, more children got abused. We need accountability.
I think what we should do is find him, ask him if he would like to come onto our show with us and talk to us about what happened in that situation. Right?
You know what? I don't even think we have to try to. I don't think we even have to try to find him. I think that this video is going to be seen by at least one person who knows Mr. Driscoll, and this is our invitation to not only Mr. Driscoll, but any person, right, who wants to do the right thing today by simply standing by the victims that were harmed and saying, we want closure for these victims. We want justice and accountability for these victims. If there's statutes of limitations that have run out, then guess what we've learned? We need to re-legislate those, because there should not be a statute of limitations on anything when it comes to this sort of harm. The fact that that priest is living in Pittsburgh with no accountability, when all the accountability in the world seems to have been available at one point in time, well within the statutes of limitations, I think that somebody needs to answer for that. And if it's us, the taxpayer, if it's us, the taxpayer, no.
Yeah, well, there should never be any sort of timeline on sexual misconduct with children. There should never be no statute of limitations of time when it comes to things like that. That's atrocious. That is absolutely disgusting. It should be the very first thing, at the least, we do for our children to protect them.
Yeah. If it can be proved and it can be substantiated, then it should be able to be prosecuted whenever. It should have been prosecuted immediately. And if these victims got burnt out of justice because of what some people did, then those people need to be held accountable for what they did to cheat these victims out of the justice that was available at the time it was happening. Period. To just say, oh, it happened so long ago, there's nothing we can do, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. And quickly,
the more research we do, man, I don't like what I'm finding. It's really
none of it.
Really, really disturbing. And I'm a pretty solid man that has. I'm pretty mentally strong, and this stuff that you and I are researching, and we're not just sitting here looking at news articles. We're doing like deep investigations with stuff, and the stuff that we're finding, man, it's no wonder why some people just don't want no parts of this, and they up and leave. And like, it's hard to go through to see what happens and how it gets swept under the rug, and how these officials just do that, and they continue to do this, and they have a conscience where they can continue to work without feeling the guilt of what they just swept under the rug for some kind of gain for their own position in life or whatever it may be. Absolutely. And that's why you and I think, brought together in the first place. We met.
I think that's why a lot of people were brought into the fold. They again, I know we say it all the time. If they had an idea, the amount of people and the caliber of people that are working on this, like from all over, they would probably just stop now. They would say, listen, you got us. We'll take whatever licks are coming up to this point, but we really don't want to continue with what you guys got going on. And you know what we would say? We would say, that's great. We're very happy to hear that you're finally willing to take responsibility, accountability, and tell the truth. That's all we've been looking for. We're not looking for vengeance. We're not looking to do damage or cause chaos. If you guys are willing to be honest about what you've been doing and repent for it, and we can hold you accountable, then let's put all this to bed. Let's put it to bed. And let's focus on strengthening our community. But as long as they take a position of thinking that they can do whatever they want, then this is only going to continue to escalate. That's it. Because surrender is not in the Constitution. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say, well, hey, guys, if they really put up a good fight, surrender. And I wouldn't even feel comfortable calling myself an American if I surrendered to what this is. I just wouldn't. I don't know how I could teach my son anything I don't know how I could eat a hot dog on 4th of July. I don't know how I could celebrate anything. I don't know how I could look at my grandfather's medals. I don't know how I could live if I surrendered to this and said, well, you know what? It's just way easier. For me, it'd be harder. It'd be harder to go about my life knowing this stuff existed and knowing that I had an opportunity and knowing I did nothing. That would be harder than I think what I'm living right now. And this sucks. It does. Reading this stuff sucks. Seeing it for what it is sucks. Letting your emotions get the best of you sometimes and acting out of character, and then the internet shreds you on it. Yeah, that sucks too. But it's work that needs to be done.
Well, that's how
And
I
I think
that's how I feel about it. I served in the military for a long time. I have children, and I have a lot of my own stuff going on. I got lawsuits. I got court hearings. I got all kinds of stuff that I'm already preoccupied with. But when you brought this to my attention, the first thing I could think of is what can I do to help? What can I do to not make this situation worse, but hold people accountable and get it to the right people that can hold them accountable.
Yes.
And at least we can do something about it. It wasn't even a question in my mind to do the right thing and try to, fix this, as best as we can to bring it out to the public's attention and let them be the judge and jury and whatever, let them decide for themselves. Are these two guys full of shit? Are they crazy? Are they actually onto something? Where's the proof?
What do they got
That's
going
why
on?
we're here. We're bringing the proof to you. We're bringing documents, and when we find stuff, we try to provide all that stuff so you guys think we're just not some conspiracy theory nuts or whatever the case may be. But I see a lot of people on Facebook, commenting things about us, why don't you get a job or do something real? Or to those people that say that, it's ignorant, because we do have jobs, we do have lives, we are human beings, and we are doing what we can. Since nobody else seems to want to step up and do it, we're doing it.
Well,
Is everybody going to like what we do? No. But
it's just one of those things where, like, it was always explained to me that there's a goal, right? Or there's an objective, if you will. And there's going to be different steps that need to be taken to get to the objective. And you have to do them in the order to get the result that you want. So when I look at the objective of the American people, after the Declaration was signed and after the Constitution and Bill of Rights were put in place, the objective became to hold on to that and to not let that get taken away from us. That's the objective. And there's certain steps that are supposed to be taken to secure that objective, and we've stopped doing them. So all the rewards of this freedom, having the freedom to go to the park with your kids on a Sunday and know you're safe, and to go to the football game, all those extra things, those only are available to us if we do the steps necessary. So when people say, don't you have a job? I do. My number one job is protecting the rights of myself and others. So until we have a large group of people doing that to where I don't have to do it around the clock, this is my job. And as far as money goes, because people are really concerned about the donations and the money, man, listen, money is a byproduct of doing the next right thing for the next right reason. Clearly, there are those out there that see what me and Jeremy are doing, and they support what we're doing. And they're in a position to help financially. These are God's people deciding this is what we can do. We don't know how to do all the video stuff, or we don't want to get on camera, but we got a couple dollars we can throw to keep this show moving. And for that, we are truly grateful. But I'll say the most valuable thing I think that me and Jeremy could get from anybody right now, with the community, pray for resolution. Pray that some of these people in these positions have a change of heart or a change of mind. Pray that it doesn't continue in the direction that it's going, because it's not going to stop until the contracts are respected. And I'm going to show up peacefully until they take a shot at me. And if they take a shot at me or anybody else, I think that that's going to be an escalation that then the American people have every right to respond to. But until then, we're going to show peacefully.
Violence, man. You know,
No,
I've
no
lived
one wants
violence
violence.
enough in my life. I don't.
And I
need
know
it.
how easy it is, man. I know how easy it is for people that are upset because I see some of the comments online, and the people are so angry, as they have every right to be. But what I'm trying, and me and Jeremy are trying to explain to the people, that there is an entire nonviolent way to deal with this that we haven't tried, right? When was the last time that you guys remember a large group of American citizens, not just Democrats, not just Republicans, a large group of people that even disagreed with each other on things? When was the last time you saw a large group of them show up together on an issue and say, we don't care about the stuff we disagree with, but we surely care about this one thing we do agree with? And what I'm posing to everybody is, can we make that one thing the children? If you don't agree, if you hate Trump, if you love Trump, if you liked Biden or you hated Biden, if you're straight, if you're gay, if you're black, if you're white, does any of that even matter at the end of the day when we have children being harmed in the way that we are starting to see they're being harmed? And is that issue worth us hitting time out? We're adults here. We can beef about all that stuff again, but right now we have a critical situation on our hands and we need to get along.
It's just so saddening in this day and age, man. When you just touched on like politics and things like that, birds of a feather, man. Left, right, red, blue. I mean, come on. It's okay to have your political beliefs.
Of course,
we're allowed to. That's our right. But I think it's gone too far now, to the point where it is now dividing everybody. People are letting it divide us. And that needs to stop. You can be a pro-Trump guy, pro-Biden, Obama, all that stuff, and that's perfectly fine. But when it interacts and interferes with daily living of people just communicating and interacting with each other, strangers meeting and interacting. I can be a stranger to Nick, meet him on the street somewhere. Hey, how you doing? Have a great conversation. And somehow politics gets brought up. He loves Trump. I can't stand him. And all of a sudden, boom, that's it. Done. A possible
that's what I mean.
Ruined, before it even started. And that's where the problem is. And that's where people's mindsets need to change, is stop with the political stuff. Because honestly, guys, neither one of those parties are going to be there to pick you up when you fall or get you out of a bind. Really, they don't care. And,
I mean, just look at the recent vote on the floor to release the complaints against them. I mean, that was a pretty bipartisan decision on their part, that no, we do not want the people to know about the claims of sexual abuse that have been lodged against them.
Did not want nothing to do with that. And that's scary. That is what
they're not
scares
attacking just the children of the Republicans or just the children of the Democrats. They are attacking children. They are not just attacking white children. They are not just attacking black children. They are just attacking children. They don't care. All these little differences that they've managed to get us to argue and fight over doesn't make a lick of difference to them. They just want to destroy. They just want to destroy.
What happens when we, the people, are all together as one? They can't have that.
Arguably uniting the people is the most dangerous thing you can attempt to do while here on Earth. And that spans history. It's not just today. Throughout the course of history, those that have stepped forward to try to unify the people into seeing that there's a better way is the most dangerous, but I've always felt one of the most honorable things that you can attempt to do. And I can't think of a better use of time, especially in the moment that we're in right now.
Yeah, I agree.
So we're about to hit the hour mark. We're going to be doing these videos regularly. But before we leave, I do think that it's fair to touch on D. Pasquale, right? If I'm butchering his name, I apologize. But that was the attorney, or that was the the auditor general for the state of Pennsylvania during this whole grand jury documentation. And He also is the gentleman who ran against Dave Sunday in the 2024 election for Attorney General. And I think it's fair to point out that Sunday won, and he now controls the most powerful law enforcement office in the state. He controls the statewide prosecutions, the oversight of public corruption cases, the authority over grand juries, whether they meet, move, or do anything at all, and the power to decide what gets investigated. And I just have a question for Mr. Sunday. When are you going to do something about what was discovered in the statewide grand jury investigation? Because it's looking to me like the American people locally here in Pennsylvania, we may have made a mistake by putting Sunday in there, because I'm pretty certain that if D. Pasquale was our attorney general right now, people would already be getting arrested for their roles in what they did to cover up this abuse of these children. And I also want to say it's fair to state for the record that Nicole Ziccarelli was also aligned with his leadership. She later joined Sunday's Attorney General transition team. So, I mean, again, once you begin to pay attention and once you begin to document and log and create webs of information, me and Jeremy are not here to lead anybody into a bad way of living. We are here to try to give people the information necessary to defend themselves and free themselves from what's happening. You know, you can take our word for it, but I'm telling you, we're not offended, and we encourage everybody to do your own research. Because hearing it from us is one thing, and I appreciate those of you that believe in us and trust us. But when you go start doing your own research and finding it on your own, it hits a little bit different.
What those two guys are talking about, man, they're actually right. This is really happening. And
Yeah.
you know, you district attorney here in Westmoreland County, man, it still bothers me that we have a Pennsylvania state constable that was busted trying to do all that with a young girl. And what happened? Nothing. Like, that is not going to sit well with anybody that I know of.
No.
And if you think
it's not
if
just
somebody
that, I mean,
thinks that's okay, like, I don't care if you work for that person. If you work for Ziccarelli, you cannot be okay with knowing the facts of that case and not prosecuting it. Again, not protecting the children.
And that's the thing. We're moving into an era where if these people are not held accountable, then the people they're trying to hold accountable are going to start resisting their accountability. I'm going to say, how dare you ticket me? How dare you ticket me? I'm 5 miles over the speed limit. You ticket me while you let a constable roam free, and people are just going to stop listening. I mean, that's really what's going to happen, man. One day people are just going to say, no. Hey, if you ain't going to, no, I ain't listening to you no more. And I don't want that to happen.
I'm trying to figure out where this country went wrong. Like, where did it just go so wrong that we can't protect our children when we have factual things like that in this church problem here with all the touchers in there, the things that they've done? Like, where is the humanity to protect our children? That's our future.
We went wrong when we started to get distracted by all the shiny bullshit. We took our eye off the ball. You know, there was a time in this country where instead of planning big parties to watch the Steelers and drink beer and eat chicken wings, men were meeting at social clubs in their neighborhoods. The news was playing on the TV. They were smoking their cigars, playing cards, talking about, hey, the kids look like, you know, they'd enjoy a jungle gym down at the local park. You know, me and Danny are going to grab some lumber. Joe's going to draw up the plans. And I think when the spring breaks, we're going to build one for them. They funded the shit themselves, and they didn't go begging the politicians, please help us, please help us. They said, you know what? Shit needs done in this community, and we're going to do it. Let's not forget in New York City, when the crack epidemic was at full swing, those guys. I forget what they called themselves, the Angels or something. You ever read about them?
Oh, yeah, I forget what
Just
they
like a
call
group of
themselves.
guys who wore like the same jackets, wore the same, I think they wore berets or something. I think the guy actually got a little crap for putting the beret on, but nonetheless, forget the controversy. It looked like at the end of the day, all it was they were banding together saying the police aren't able to protect us because shit's wild right now. And we as men have a duty to fill that gap. We haven't been filling the gap. We put our
I think
kids
why
in.
because situations like that, when men like that would now step up to fill the gap
Terrorist
of where the police ain't
organization.
going to protect us.
You're a terrorist
You
organization.
get
Domestic.
you get accused of being a domestic terrorist organization. And then what are you going to do when you actually say, if you have that group of guys trying to protect your township here, your local community, some bad guys come in and say the good guys shoot them because they're defending the community. Now, guess what? Those good guys that shot the bad guys that were invading their area are now got to face charges and worry about themselves being taken off the streets and thrown in jail for doing the right thing. And I think that's why everybody
I
just
think
walks
that's why
away from
there's
situations.
I think that's why there's a process that needs to start. And I think what the first part of the process is education. I think that continuing to talk about constitutional rights, continuing to talk to the kids about them, continuing to give the people information, because once the public is educated on what the rights are, then when groups like that form, they support those groups. And then when the government comes and says, oh, they're a terrorist organization because they are a threat. I mean, that's exactly what they are. That's what they're supposed to be. We're supposed to be a threat to them. The reason we're getting treated like this is because they're not afraid of us at all, because we've just rolled over so many times that there's no fear anymore. That once the public's educated and they see what's going on and they come for those organizations, well, then you got 2,000 citizens going, you better not make a move on our local civic center. You're not going to call them this and call them that. They're out here educating the youth. They're doing Toys for Tots drives and all these things. You're not going to mess with them, because if you mess with them, you got a problem with all of us. That's how this whole thing works. United we stand, divided we fall. We can pretty much do anything we want as the American people, as long as it's in line with the Constitution and we have enough support from within. That's why when people say, Nick, when are you going to run for something? Never. I'm not of the, if you can't beat them, join them. Yeah. We're far more valuable here on the streets standing with our neighbors than we'll ever be in their dungeon on Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about morals and values, that Bobert lady, you want to be out there in the movie theater playing games like that? Cool. Go get another job. Go get another profession. Did you see that when that happened? That was a while ago. But still, we need to have a standard for these people. I mean, I'm not saying that anyone should be condemned for doing that, but it's like, look at the position that person holds in life, the importance of the position. There needs to be a higher bar set for certain people. Right. And I'm not saying that judges can't have friends and they can't have lives, but when you go on Senator Ward's page and you see that the only stuff she has on there is pictures of her with all these people that are doing all of this harm, it just makes you wonder, are they friends? Are they colleagues? Are they working on stuff together? Because last night there was big kudos thrown to Kim about the 2 new police cars. Yet in Jill, what's her name? Cooper?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yet in her post where there's like this breakdown of this money from grants and the money went here and this department, and didn't say nothing about North Huntingdon and 2 police cars.
Well, is that North Huntingdon's district, to be fair? Is that what district was that? Was that the 50? What district is North Huntingdon? Do you know?
I can look real quick.
Because we're talking about Jill Cooper. She's a 55th district rep. And it says Westmoreland County, but I don't want to throw things out there that ain't accurate. But yes, in a list here on her latest post, well, a day ago, Miss Cooper does talk about all the grants that were given to police departments such as Murraysville, New Ken, Salem Township, Upper Borough. So there's a lot of grants getting given out, and she is in the 55th district, and there has been almost $350,000 in grants allocated to the 55th district alone.
Well, well, here's the thing. So North Huntingdon is split between two districts. You have the 57th House District, which is Eric Nelson, and then you have the 55th House, which is Jill. That's of the House of Representatives. Kim is a senator. So she's a step even above. I mean, I don't want to say above, but they're not. Her district, the 39th district, encompasses both of those. So they sit under her umbrella, which is the other thing that should be driving the local Pennsylvanian mad right now, is one of the, if not the most powerful Republican in the Senate is Kim Ward. Yet she has not, me and Jeremy have both reached out to her for discussion. I mean, she has remained mum on all of this.
I mean, I get that you may be a busy person, but you know what? Come on, man. You can't be that busy so your staff can at least send an email to a veteran dad that has some serious stuff going on. It's not like I'm bitching about it.
Documentation. Nobody's asking for anybody to take our word either. I mean, we're not sitting here being, oh no, you have to believe us because we're saying it. I mean, we're coming correct. And we still can't get a conversation.
What does it take, Miss Kim Ward, to get a discussion with you or a reply? And I say that to every agency, everybody that I've sent, that Nick and I have both sent emails, letters, video tag in stuff. I mean, there's nothing.
I'm gonna say
but yet with the county commissioners and Kim Ward hanging out doing God knows what. Like,
well, that's what I mean. I think your best bet at a meeting with Kim is check out the local bar scene on the weekend. You know, because that seems to be what she likes to. Well, it just seems to be that that's what she really enjoys doing, is drinking, both in her free time and at events. I mean, I got my own personal experience.
Did you get that picture sent to you by an anonymous person?
Yeah, sitting out at the bar with some guy from Hempfield's advisory staff. Yeah.
And then that shit happened with you too, man, years ago, like
at Lakeview. Little tricks under the table. And I'm not the only one.
When you told me that, I'm like, this guy's bullshitting me. It's like he's got to be like he's messing with me. But no, it's dead serious.
That's what happens sometimes, you know.
And it's like it was a normal thing.
Other people have come forward and told me some pretty weird things about Kim too. So I mean, if Kim thinks that I'm the only one who's willing and ready to start talking about some of her behavior, she's sadly mistaken, because I'm not the only one you've done this stuff to, Kim. People are becoming very emboldened these days to start telling their truth to people. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where, like, I don't even know at this rate if we're even going to get the help that we need, because I don't know if it even exists. But one thing I know is if the people stand together on these issues, we can definitely have a peaceful removal of these people. I mean, if we just put the brakes on it and say, hey, listen, we ain't going anywhere until you guys get out of the way, then they will peacefully, they'll leave. And we can have special elections.
The perfect time to do that, but we got the midterms coming. If you guys keep voting these same people in after watching our stories, then
it's going to get worse and worse.
You're part of the problem. You vote for people like that we're talking to you about. You are part of the problem. And it's not, I'm not being confrontational. It's facts. There are people that run for these positions in these offices, and they may have been good at first when it first started, but the money and the power and whatever else got to them.
Our lack of involvement. Our lack of involvement. Our lack of involvement is the big one. Because it doesn't matter how much money and power you give these people if the American people consistently show up and ask questions and watch what they're doing. You could give them millions of dollars, and if you're showing up and asking questions and demanding the answers you're entitled to, they don't have the ability to become corrupt. This, and I hate to say this, but this really is our fault. We, the American people, allowed this to happen, and we're not going to blame it on this generation or that generation. It's nobody's fault. This is a collective failure. But today, we're in a position where, because of technology, we have the ability to do something now, right? We have the ability to gather information, create data sets, analyze the data in a way that our fathers and our grandfathers never had the ability to do. So I'm going to give the grace to everybody. But now that we're where we're at today, and the tools are available to the millennials and the Zoomers and Generation X, now that we know these tools are available, we know how to use them to hold people accountable. Well, now it's going to be our fault if we lose this nation. If it goes any further into the abyss, we will have nobody to blame but ourselves.
That's right, man. We all have to step up and take a bigger part in all this, because this, like you said, this is why all this is happening. We have allowed this to happen.
What do I want from the younger generations? I want them to pay attention, and I want them to ask questions. That's what I want them to do. I want them to pay attention, ask questions. I don't want them getting into any sort of controversy with anybody. Pay attention to the videos, ask questions, read books. Find books on your own and read them. What do I want the elderly population to do? Give us information. We'll keep you anonymous. Just tell us where to go look. And we will put the tools to practice, and we will dig, baby, dig. What do I want from our generations, Jeremy, the millennials and Generation X? I want everybody to report to the front line. I want you to come to the meetings. I want you to file right to know requests. I want you to email your commissioners. That's what I want because we are the age of action. The elders are supposed to be resting, and we need them praying for us right now and giving us whatever information they're willing to give. And if any of them are in a position where they could help financially to keep this thing moving, that would also be greatly appreciated, but not a requirement. Not a requirement, greatly appreciated. But those are the roles, man. That's what we got going on. That's what we got going on.
To me. I think today we did it was a good video today. A good meeting.
Yeah, an hour and 20 minutes, man. So
we got to do this more often, and then we got to start inviting people to come out of the woodwork and come join us on these videos. Like Nick said, send us information. If you don't want anybody to know who you are, that's fine. We'll keep your name out of it, but we need the information to keep going. We need to be on the right track.
And if you're not afraid to come on here, you guys want to get on a group call and talk about where do we go from here? You got some ideas? Let's go. Let's go. I'm ready. Jeremy's been ready. Jeremy was on the scene before I got to the scene. The Lewandowski family's beyond ready. Everybody's ready. Let's start assembling.